Welcome to the Georgia Department of Education Orchestra Community. I'm your Orchestra Community Moderator, Sean Morton. So for this set of webinars, we're going to be talking about finishing strong. We're going to look at budgeting for the next school year. We're going to look at booster club development and management. And finally, how to finish up looking at your inventory and how you figure out what to send out for repairs. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, let's talk about developing and maintaining a budget for the next school year. So whenever you're creating a budget, you definitely want to go in first knowing what your student enrollment is going to be, what you already have in your inventory, and what are your biggest needs. Anytime that you can have your historical financial data available is really helpful. Maybe you're new at your school, so if you want to check with your bookkeeper and see if they've got prior records, or if you're coming into a school that has a booster club, getting previous financial records from the previous year's budgets can be really helpful to figure out sort of where you are or where you've been so you can figure out where you want to go. Know who's paying for what. What are you getting from your local school? What are you getting from your county? What are your contributions school-wide? What are your students contributing? So that way you can figure out where you're going to get your different pots of money. Like every county or district is different. You may get repair money from your district, but not music money, or you may get a little of each, but then you've got to cover the other gap. So kind of figuring out who's paying for what so you know what you've got to budget for. You want to then determine where you're going to get your income from. What are your income streams for your program? Are they going to be fundraisers? Do you need to do more than one fundraiser? Are you going to charge your students dues or a class fee? How are you going to solicit donations? Are there different programs you're going to use along the way? Are you going to have your students use Publix and Kroger points to help accrue money? So there's all different ways and different types of income streams, but you want to figure out what are your main income streams going to be. And then you want to go ahead and figure out your budget categories for expenses. So this is where you start plugging in what you need and what you've used year over year. Your instrument repair fund, uniforms, if that's the category you use, any kind of student activities, which would cover like events or recruiting things, instructional materials, music, supplies, travel. If your booster club will pay for your conference registration or some of your travel, technology needs, if you need to upgrade certain things. This could be as simple as metronomes or as complicated as more advanced sound setup, iPads, etc. Any awards and scholarships you want to do, professional development, or bringing in sectional coaches or different organizations or groups to perform. And then any fees for your performance evaluation, registration fees for students. So you kind of have to look and see what works for your group of students and your situation, and then kind of knowing what's getting covered. Like if your school pays all your performance evaluation fees, then that doesn't need to go in your separate budget. So let's look at fundraisers and some options for fundraising. Every year we go to conference and there's tons of different options available for fundraising. But let's talk through what some of the options are and what may be successful in different environments. So live performances sometimes are great fundraisers, having students play somewhere and use that as an opportunity to raise funds. Some people charge admission for concerts. If that's something that's been historical in your program or accepted in your community, that's an option. Looking at event-based fundraisers like walkathons or playathons are getting pretty popular, where students will, get a certain amount of pledges and then play or do certain activities during those hours to get their pledges. We've seen 5Ks, where they're organizing an arts 5K that will benefit the community arts organizations. For our fundraiser, we do an event-based fundraiser called Cow Patty Bingo, which is really popular at our school because we've done it for so long, and it's a big raffle where we have a cow, a real life cow on a field, and if he poops in your square, then you win $1,000. It's a big community event. That works really well for us. But there's all kinds of different event-based fundraisers you can create based on your community and what, other organizations are doing. Oftentimes, too, our fundraising is driven by what the other organizations on campus or nearby are doing so that we don't duplicate those same fundraisers. Silent auctions are great. You can have those during concerts or during other events. You can get donations from the community. Oftentimes parents have different contacts. This is a great way to involve your families and get items donated to help raise money for your organization. We've all probably sold candy for our group or different things, but there's all kinds of sales. This is definitely what we see a lot at conference when we go through the exhibits. There's all these different organizations advertising their different products. Candy and food sales are always one that we see students do throughout the year. The traditional old school wrapping paper. We've seen more and more of the mattress fundraisers, sheets, bags, you name it, it's probably out there. Cheesecakes, all the different things. So if you're interested in that, oftentimes though with sales, you have to remember you're only going to get a percentage of the item. So if you have to look at each company and see what percentage comes back to you. Usually it's between 40 and 45% comes back to the organization, and the sales company keeps the other portion. The great thing often about event-based fundraisers versus sales fundraisers is with event-based fundraisers, you keep more of the proceeds. Like for example, we keep almost all the profits for our Cow Patty Bingo fundraiser because we do everything in-house other than the prize money, so we keep everything else. So you kind of look at those percentages and see what works. You can also look at doing services in place of sales, like doing a car wash, providing holiday gift wrapping. There's the paint can recycling fundraiser that's been more popular over the years, yard work services. There's all kinds of things you can do to solicit services in your community to raise funds. And again, those tend to offer a little bit more return for your money than some of the item sales. There's restaurant or retail fundraising, so you can do Chick-fil-A Spirit Nights or some of the other restaurants and stuff will offer a percentage of their receipts for that evening. And if you mention the organization, we did this year with our band, orchestra, and chorus, and it was just a nice little extra pile of money that came in through one of the local restaurants. Retail fundraising as well, such as if you work with some of the local grocery stores like Kroger, Publix, they all have these partnership programs that will link to the patron's Kroger Plus card or their Publix card. And anytime they use their phone number, it's linked to your organization and then it sends money back. Amazon Smile is another one that if you set up an Amazon Smile account for your organization, then every time your people shop using your Amazon Smile account, then you get a portion back for your organization. So just easy ways to make money. And then finally, one that's really gained popularity, I think, in the last few years are these like snap raise campaigns or these donation campaigns where it's literally just a solicitation email that your family send out to their friends and family, and it's raising money. And so they keep a portion, but the majority of the money you raise comes back to your organization. These have been pretty successful in our community. I know both of our middle school programs are doing that. So since our middle school programs do that, we like to do something a little different, and that way we're not all doing the same thing at the same time. So again, whenever you're choosing fundraisers, looking at what's going on in your community with your feeder schools and making sure you guys are offering a variety of activities to raise money for your organization. So with fundraisers, we want to make sure everyone is educated. Why are we raising the funds? And how does the fundraiser work? We don't want parents to not understand why we're asking them to send an email or buy a ticket or buy wrapping paper or show up and wash cars. Why are we raising funds? What is the specific purpose? Often, it's going into the general fund, but if you can really give them some clear ideas about, hey, this year we're really working on getting all new music stands. And so this is what the large portion of our fundraiser is going for. Or we really need to replace our music library, or we need new student lockers for our instruments. So giving a clear purpose for your fundraiser is really helpful for your community as well as your families that are raising funds. And then making sure that the family knows exactly how the fundraiser works. Oftentimes we'll get fundraising packets home as parents and we're not quite sure who does the check go to, or can we pay online, or what are the options and when is it coming in. So making sure whenever you're sending home fundraiser or communicating about a fundraiser that all the details are included, so it's really clear for your families and your orchestra community. Choose the right fundraiser for your group. Know what works for your school and your community, what fits in well with your program. For example, one thing that's really been great at our Cow Patty Bingo is we sell tamales. We have a pretty large Hispanic population, and one of the moms makes really amazing tamales that she donates to the program, and we sell tamales as part of that day. That's like the kids always want the tamales, and so that works really great in our school for our program, but that may not work at your school. So know what works with your group and your community and what's going to fit with your program culture. Whenever you're doing a fundraiser, you need to make sure you create promotional materials, advertise ahead of time. Now we have so many ways online we can create cool flyers and Canva, all that's free for educators. So create those materials to advertise. Let the parents know ahead of time what's coming so that they're aware that, hey, this fundraising packet's coming home today, or your student's coming home with a pack of 30 candy bars. Make sure instructions are always included, and not only included in the fundraiser, but in email, and send it out to all the teachers. We always tell the kids, like, hey, like, ask your teachers, but sometimes they forget. So, let the other teachers know and the other staff. If you can get students into the community, oftentimes that's a great way. Our local violin shop is always really supportive of our fundraisers and will buy tickets to our events. So, include your community. And then when you're done with the fundraiser, make sure that, if you're selling in the school or, at the lunch, make sure you say thank you and you have the kids say thank you to their customers and their patrons so that, they really know that it made a difference in your program. If you get new materials with fundraising money, take a picture and send it out to the parents of your new music stands or the new music you ordered. And that way they can sort of see what they're getting with their fundraiser efforts. So, a few other points. Whenever you're thinking about fundraising and budgeting, see if a local vendor offers a discount for your school. This often is a great money saver. If the local music store offers a 10% discount if you do repairs there, or, maybe they'll do a bow exchange, all kinds of different things. Some vendors will offer discount for payment by check because they don't want to pay the credit card processing fees. So check with your vendor, see what kind of discounts they may offer to your program. Ask your school administration to see if they'll cover your transportation or festival fees, if they can be covered by the general fund, since those are really things we're expected to participate in our district. See if your district or your local school will help cover some of those fees. You always want to keep a surplus in your account so that you can start the new school year with just a little bit of a cushion. What if at the beginning of the year suddenly all the A strings on the cellos break and you haven't done your fundraiser yet or collected your fees? Well, luckily, if you've kept a little money in there, you've got a way to start out the year and replace those A strings. So just keep a little bit in your account to float year to year, and that way you don't have that kind of in case of an emergency or rainy day fund. And then, once you've been at a school a little longer than a year or two, really create a 3 to 5 year plan to help forecast your needs. So that way, okay, right now our equipment is in this condition. I know in 2 years I'm going to need to replace some more of my half-size cellos, or I know we're going to need another 20 chairs looking at the 6th grade enrollment when they get here in 9th grade. So, start kind of doing some forecasting. This is really helpful when you go to meet with administration about needing extra money in your budget, or when you're working with parents and booster organizations to help raise funds. You can really kind of see it on paper what you're looking for down the road.